Hey everybody, this is Bryan Grossman, Editor-in-Chief here at 6035 News Magazine. This is the 6035, the weekly show that recaps everything you need to know in the news. Our guests in studio today, Senior Reporter Pam Zubeck and Managing Editor Helen Lewis, and we're talking about the latest stories. Welcome to Pam and Helen.
Thanks.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Pam's upcoming cover, which has to do with the April election. The headline is Game Changer, and it kind of is. There's a lot going on with this election. What have you learned so far, Pam?
Well, one way it could be a game changer is that there are 4 slots on City Council out of 9 seats up for election. Since there are 2 what some people might call moderates or progressives already on council, if 4 more were elected, that would give them not only a majority but a supermajority. Mm-hmm. By the same token, it could go the other way and give conservatives a supermajority. So that is an element of it being an important election. The TOPS measure is on the ballot. That's another key thing, although it looks like that now they've written it in such a way that they could garner more support from doubters that defeated the one last fall. Mm-hmm. And then probably the premier race is the mayor's race, because we've had John Suthers in office now for 7.5 years. Mm-hmm. He can't have another term because of term limits, so he will be leaving office in June. And we have a slate that of candidates who already have committed to running. There's only been 3 as of this morning whose petitions were approved, who are on the ballot. But I have no doubt that the other 4 won't make it, and also
will make it.
Will make
yes.
it. And I also want to leave the door open for other candidates. There could be other people who we aren't aware of who are circulating petitions or whatever. So it's going to be quite a big field, and the top 2 vote getters at the April 4th city election will go into a runoff for May. I think it's 5th, but I could be wrong about that date.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And what's the deadline for applicants for the
January 23rd is the last day you could submit a petition with 100 signatures of qualified electors of the city.
Mm-hmm. So less than 2 weeks from now. Mm-hmm. So on the city council side, who are the players there?
On city council, we're losing all the at-large candidates. Wayne Williams is an at-large council member, although he could seek another term, but he's running for mayor. Mm-hmm. So, win or lose, he gives up his council seat, and he can't run for 2 offices at the city at the same time. Right. So there's one that will turn over. Then Tom Strand is term limited, as is Bill Murray, from their at-large seats. Mm-hmm. Tom Strand is running for mayor. And then the other council seat that's open is currently held by Stephanie Fortune, who was appointed in late 2021 after Richard Scorman resigned his seat to focus on his businesses. So that seat is open, but just for a 2-year term. It would be finishing Richard Scorman's original term.
And Stephanie's not running, is that
She is not running.
Right, because of health issues. So, Helen, what do you any predictions for the city council election?
I'm not going to go out on that, Liam. I'm interested to know. I know we talked about it before, but when do we find out the next fundraising numbers for all of those? Because that was pretty interesting last time we looked at those. Yeah,
it's every 2 weeks, and the next report is due on January the 16th, which is a Monday, and we're not going to be able to put the latest numbers in our stories that appear next week, but we do have the numbers as of January 3rd, and then it's every 2 weeks after that until the election.
Right, and we've talked about updating readers with those.
Yeah, we definitely will. Yeah. And one more thing that I was going to say about the council was there's only been one candidate so far that is on the ballot for sure, and her name is Jane Northrup Glenn. She's married to Darrell Glenn, who is running for mayor. So I don't know. I don't think there's anything that violates the city charter about that or anything, but it's just unusual. I don't know that we've ever seen that before.
We do see a lot of couples, though, vying for local power, don't we? You mentioned Wayne Williams, who's a city councilor, who's also going to be running for mayor, and his wife, Holly Williams, is a county commissioner. So
different entity, though.
Sure, yeah.
Yep.
What's at stake, at least on the city council side? What are the issues, do you think, for these councilors?
Oh, gosh. I mean, just a lot of them. There's a lot of unrest, if you will, over the adoption of the new comprehensive plan that's called Retool COS. It hasn't been adopted yet, actually, but it probably will be before the election. However, as we discussed in our podcast this morning with Mayor Suthers, that's a document that could be revisited. There's nothing, even when it's passed, there's nothing that prevents alterations from occurring, amendments. And, you know, that could come back to council in the future. There are growth. Well, that's a growth issue. There's other growth issues dealing with annexations and water that are going to be really hot. Now, again, our current city council is on track to adopt a new water rule that would dictate to some degree how property is annexed and such. But again, it's not a charter change. And so given that that's true, then it could be revisited also. So, you know, even though they're taking some actions prior to the election that are really important, it's not that they can't, look at them again. So I think growth issues are really the big deal right now. Economic development in the past has been a big deal, but with certain people saying we need more than just cashier jobs and burger flipper jobs and, fast food jobs, things like that. But now we're seeing that we're getting more high-tech jobs and things like that. So, and as Mayor Suthers was explaining this morning, our gross product from this city has increased by 25% in the last 8 years. So he said it was $30 billion from the time the city was founded up until he took office, and since then it's grown to $40 billion. So that's pretty,
production within the city. Yeah.
So that's a pretty impressive figure there.
Did he point to anything? Did he explain that at all, or he just gave you the numbers?
Well, I'm trying to remember the.
What was the time frame? You said over the past 8
years.
So like Amazon, right?
Right.
Would have been,
all of those things have occurred since
he took office.
Yeah, and so, but in his first term, we saw a lot of just retail jobs. Retail growth, fast food, things like that. So there were people in our community that were like, "Wait, we need higher paying jobs. Why are we get So now that's starting to happen. And he could probably tell you as much as you wanted to hear about all of that.
Yeah.
Do you think that no matter who ends up in those council seats and in the mayor's job, that trend towards less of those, retail jobs that you were talking about, and that trend towards more of bringing in the tech jobs, do you think that'll continue?
Hard to say. I mean, I certainly I would never claim to be one that was an expert in economic development or the business community or anything like that. But sometimes when cities set themselves on a certain course, it eventually might get knocked to kilter. But it would be on track for a period of time. And one thing that Suthers accomplished, or a couple of things that sort of tend to put the city on that track, is the stormwater fee. That keeps us out of a federal lawsuit, road improvements tax. But eventually those things are going to have to be renewed by the voters. Right. And so the voters are going to be in charge of that. Now, we have a candidate running for mayor that said he will not ask the voters for a tax increase anymore. For all those tax increases we've seen, he will not ask. First off, there needs to be a clarification on that point, and that is that the mayor doesn't ask. It's the council that asks. The council is the one that refers the measure to voters, or it's initiated by petition by voters.
By the voters.
So it's the mayor doesn't make those requests anyway. But those things are really important to business, I'm told. good infrastructure, a solid legal framework and stuff like that, which we now have in place. But I don't know, I would imagine that if we had someone in those offices that didn't mind the store, so to speak, that we might end up with some different results.
Yeah. And another council issue, and I don't know whether or not new counselors or existing counselors will bring this up during their tenure, but Helen's writing the editorial about it for our next paper, and that's council pay and, maybe $6,200 they make, $6,200 they make a year, somewhere in there.
Yeah, $6,250, I think.
Whether or not
like
it's
that.
time to revisit that. And we've talked about that in the past, how...
Yeah, it's been put to voters a few times, actually, over the years. Over the last 25 years, I think there's been at least 2 ballot measures and maybe 3.
When was the most recent one? Because I feel like it's come up.
I'm going to say 6 or 8 years ago.
I was going to say more than 5.
Yeah. It's been a while back, but it was so soundly defeated, too. It's always real lopsided against it. But, I mean, all the arguments are the same time after time, which is, you're getting tired of old white men in those seats, or old white women, whatever. But in order to hold a council seat, you either have to be independently wealthy,
Right. Retired.
or married to someone who is, or retired. And so younger people who have families to feed and things like that to do, a council seat requires a lot of time.
Sure.
A lot
It's
of
a
time.
full-time job.
And just for example, Tuesday's meeting that started in that morning didn't wind down until after midnight.
Yeah.
So, this time commitment is real. It's not just people who have held those seats, oh, I'm getting tired, it takes so much time. It does take a lot of time.
Sure. Yeah, it's probably it's well below minimum wage when you account for the hours.
It almost looks like a full-time volunteer position with a bit of spending money.
A stipend.
That's it.
So why don't we talk about the mayor's race real quick, because that is the biggie. 7 candidates so far. Still time to jump in. But.
Yeah, January 23rd is cutoff. But so far we have a field of, as you said, 7, and 5 of them have been elected to public positions previously. The only 2 who have not are local businessman Andrew Dalby, who runs an RV storage business, I believe, and the other one is Yemi Mobilade, who is a downtown businessman, and he's been connected with the Chamber of Commerce and also with the city through their economic development department, I believe. But now he's not, and neither one of them have been elected to public office. The ones who have been elected to public office are several county commissioners, actually. One currently serving, Longinus Gonzalez Jr., Sally Clark, Wayne Williams, Darrell Glenn, and then the 5th one that's been elected to a public office is Tom Strand, who has been a Colorado Springs School District 11 board member and then city council.
City council president, right? Yeah, right now. So, yep. And the election is April 4th, is that right?
Yep.
All right. So just around the corner. Before we sign off, what do you see as being, we talked about city council and issues that will really impact them. Anything different for the mayor's office?
I don't know. We did ask Mayor Southers what would make a good mayor, what's a quality that the voters need to consider. And during our chat this morning, he mentioned something that was, I think, worth repeating, which is that a person really needs to have overseen a big organization. And he said that even though, as Attorney General, he oversaw 300-plus lawyers, that was nothing compared to when he was the head of the Department of Corrections, when he had thousands of employees and all kinds of issues, all the way from, work farm situations, food service, guards, and I mean everything, you name it, because a lot of these prisons, they're sort of a city unto themselves,
Sure.
and so sort of thing. So he felt like that was a really important thing, that a candidate should have run a big organization.
Mm-hmm. Lots of experience in lots of different areas, and that makes sense, right? So, and you keep bringing up the conversation with the mayor. Let's go ahead and plug that, because we're going to be putting that out with this cover package. You did a podcast with Mayor Suthers this morning. What else did you talk about?
Oh, well, we talked about his background and about why he thinks this is an important election, and let me see, what did we talk about?
His future.
His future, yes.
Yeah.
He revealed to us his future, which we hope to, report that shortly.
Was it professional wrestler? What was
No, he's been doing that all along.
That's a hobby. My bad.
Yeah. If you're in political office, you're a wrestler.
You are a professional wrestler. Grapple daily.
Yeah.
Yes.
But actually, that was one thing that he said he would rule out completely is
Professional wrestling.
He's done 35 years in elective office, and that's it for him. He said, "I'm done."
Let's not give it away, though. We'll make people listen to hear what's happening.
Right. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else we should know about this cover package?
Well,
the
one
election?
thing that is interesting to note is that, and maybe this would be a good way to end this, is that this election in April, and then the subsequent runoff, should there be one, could possibly be the city's last spring election. So you'll have to read our story to find out more about that.
Okay. Anything to add, Helen?
No, do we want to talk about next week?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
The indie party?
Yeah. Go. Oh, yeah. You go. Oh, tell us about the indie party, Helen.
I'm going to tell you about the indie
right
party.
On cue.
You never saw that coming. Yeah. So our rescheduled best of.
Yeah.
I think it's our greatest party. That's next Thursday night. It's at City Ord. And it's an amazing party. There's still tickets available, I think, as we speak. But it does, it gets huge. And also 10% of ticket sales this time are going to help the effort on City Ord, the rebuilding, renovation, reimagination of City Ord. But yeah, we'll be celebrating all the winners, our best of winners, a little later than usual. But it's going to be a great party. So 6035media.org for tickets under events.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it may be, from what I understand, the last, if not one of the last, it could be the last event at City Ord before they doing their big revamp.
Yeah.
So
but it's going to be one of the best events at City Ord.
It's always one of the best events in period, citywide.
It really is. It's an amazing party.
Yeah, it's a good party, good time. So yeah, 6035media.org. Go get your tickets there.
Yep.
Thank you to Pam Zubeck and Helen Lewis for joining me in the studio today. Don't forget to pick up this week's issue. There it is, of 6035 News Magazine, available on newsstands and in mailboxes around the city right now. Check out our new website, 6035media.org. If you have anything you'd like to share regarding our podcasts, questions, comments, go to podcasts@6035media.org. The show is produced by Dave Gardner and Nick Raven. Videocast is directed by Nick Raven. Music is by Jeremiah Walter. Our digital media specialist is Sean Cassidy. Art director is Dustin Glatz. Publisher is Amy Gillentine. And I'm Bryan Grossman, editor-in-chief. We'll see you next time on the 6035.
The 6035.